the Lord is on the following day, the 15th day. We will see what that means. Remember, the Passover comes on the 14th day. And the Passover is deliverance from Egypt. Deliverance from sin. The Passover is what we all know, or most of us, that Jesus eventually became the Passover. We'll get there maybe on Sunday. So God said the Passover comes on the 14th. And the next day you will have to celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread to the Lord. A day after. That same month, not next month. That same month. And this Feast of Unleavened Bread has to be celebrated 7 days. You eat unleavened bread. What does it mean? This is an indication of salvation. He said it shall be an unleavened bread. Simply means don't mix the bread with anything. Don't mix it. Remember in Pentecost, he said you can put yeast now. But now, in the 1 week of unleavened bread, which after celebrating that 7 days, you now count 7 weeks. That's 7 days, and another 7 days, another 7 days, 7 days, 7 times. The following, the 50th day, you come into Pentecost. So, the Feast of Unleavened Bread that is celebrated for 7 days must be eaten, the bread must be eaten unleavened without mixing it anything. You know that in the wilderness, thousands of people were killed. Why? They worshipped other gods apart from Jehovah. The Feast of Unleavened Bread is the feast of singleness, of worship, service. It is the symbol of salvation. Your life to only the God who made the heaven and the earth. Once the Passover dies for you, grab or confess your salvation. Once the Passover is dead, once you're taken away from Egypt, the moment you're delivered from sin, accept Jesus and be saved. Do not mix your life with the world. Do not mix your life and run into sin and run out of sin and confess it and sin and confess it. It shall not be mixed with anything. My life has to be submitted unto God. That is the feast of unleavened bread. In other words, if your life is not unleavened, if your life is not mixed, why are you celebrating Pentecost? You're not qualified. For Pentecost has a foundation rooted. For Pentecost, yes, has a foundation rooted in Passover and unleavened bread. So, God says, you have to keep this feast, the second one. Before the third one, we read it in Exodus. There are 3 feasts. Let's run down to verse 9 and 10 of this Leviticus. The Lord spoke to Moses, speak to the Israelites and tell them, when you enter the land, I'm going to the third feast now. This one called Pentecost. So, the Passover was to leave Egypt. The unleavened bread was to accept Jesus in the wilderness. Remember, he told them in Deuteronomy, he said, the Lord allowed you to pass through this wilderness. He allowed you to be hungry, allowed you to suffer, to